turning it into a very bad product. These are facilities and tools the DTI, direct traders input, given out by customs to enable you stay in the comfort of your homes and offices, to make declarations to customs and even pay duty to the bank without stepping out of your house. People take advantage of it now to do evil and harm another person. However, because we are talking about infrastructure, we've introduced a new infrastructure that says it has to be biometric. Now, the day we were introducing biometric for the first time 2 weeks ago, somebody said we'll have to find a way of circumventing this too. And we said, how will you do it? He said, we'll start cutting off people's fingers. Maybe that will be possible. But then, as government, we are not resting on our oars to provide infrastructure that will help ease your business. So we've introduced what we call 962, and 962 comes with biometrics. That means those who steal identity of another person to do business will not be able to do that anymore. These are so part of the tools we're introducing. Then we talked about growing public health and environmental insecurities in Nigeria. We are partnered with NESRA, NSA, National Security Advisor's Office, SON, NAFDAC, and the NDLEA. Just yesterday, somebody brought in a boat and was asked to go and bring the National Security Advisor's end-user certificate. He said, why? And we said, well, you need it. He said, why do you need it? We said, well, if you go to Niger Delta and that boat is a treated boat, when you kidnap or when you are fighting the oil and gas people and the boat is shot at, it's impenetrable. Therefore, we need to get the identity of the person who owns that boat. That's why we ask you for your end-user certificate. The e-waste that we seized, we partnered with NESRA. We shared intelligence with them. For tramadol and codeine and other substances that are harmful to our youths, we partner with NAFDAC. And then for the cables, other materials, computers that need standard and standardization, we partner with SON. Now the question is, why are we doing that and how do we do it? Again, that brings us with infrastructure. We've developed a strangle window model that all these people are connected with. Now the truth is that once you make a declaration involving SON or NAFDAC, they get intelligence in their office through the computer. That's an infrastructure that we developed, because we're talking about infrastructure here. Then the question is, why do people still escape with them? Human element. We can't rule that out in every society. In the past, if a customer officer stands on this podium, he will deny the fact that there are some bad elements in the system. But the truth is that so long as there are people who don't want to make good declarations, there will also be few, just few, maybe 1 or 2 people in the system who will also connive with them, isn't it? There's no way you would do this and catch all the air, but we're trying our best. Again, what does customs understand by port infrastructure? I will read this. Human resources and manpower of the service, the legal framework, our procedures and policies, and the word customer organization modernization tools are some of the basic input of the service in the development of maritime infrastructure. All these are encapsulated in the 10 WCO building blocks for customs. Anytime I go to make presentation, people say, why are you talking about World Customs Organization? Why not talk about Nigeria? Please, what we try to do is we take these tools and we domesticate them to fit our environment. So nobody should be scared about them. We have globally networked customs. Somebody spoke about Ghana here. I went to Ghana and spent 3 weeks studying their transit model. Ghana has one of the best transit models in the world. That wouldn't have been possible if we are not partnering as WCO tools in a coordinated border management. We partner with Niger, we partner with Togo, we partner with even as far as Burkina Faso. Ghana has a very big business booming on transit with Burkina Faso. You will be amazed. And these are some of the things we also want to take advantage of. We have coordinated border management. We have intelligent-driven risk management. This is one of the biggest infrastructure we are deploying now. I can stay in my office, take a look at your document, and determine that 80% you are smuggling or you are concealing something just by looking at your document. We have the tools that are deployed, developed in partnership with World Customs Organization. We also have the Customs Trade Partnership. Some of the freight forwarders here will tell you, we try to deploy our capacity building capacity with them, we share with them, we offer them tools. Every custom formation in Lagos has a training facility. So every tool that we deploy, we invite the stakeholders to come and share with us. In the past, it wasn't so. We felt that they are here, we are chasing them, and they are here, we are the policemen, they are the bad guys, in quote. But we have changed that paradigm, that we see them as partners for the growth of trade. So we encourage customs trade partnership. We also have watermarking methods and procedures and techniques. Most of our operations are non-automated. We are trying to go paperless. We've achieved what I can say is at least 70%. It's our expectation that at least in the next 3-4 years, we would have gone 100%. And then that will be for the good of everybody. We also have professional-based service culture. Then the most important, capacity building. If you notice, customs was established over 123 years ago. But at some point, the last recruitment in customs was in 1991. And after 1991, there was no other recruitment until 2009. So we are saddled with aging workforce. Most of us were analog. But in 2009, there was a deliberate policy to recruit young hands that are computer literate. Right now, 80% of custom officers are IT wizards. These boys, in the next 10 years, will take over the entire job. It's a massive investment in capacity building, and that's why I started with it by saying that our biggest infrastructure in the maritime industry is human resources. And guess what? Their age range is between 25 and 35. And I will advise that any other person that is here should make such investment too. That we will regret, because we're not regretting ours. These boys were not there, and we are making 600, 700, 500 billion. Their presence has catapulted us with other reforms we've introduced to the league of those that contribute, like an NPC, 1.3 trillion. Now, what is the most important tool, infrastructure that I want all of us to share? Integrity. You know that computers are garbage in, garbage out. No matter the modernization tool you introduce in any environment, if there's no integrity of the stakeholders, you are doing nothing. And that's one tool, one infrastructure that World Customs Organization always emphasize that we market to our stakeholders whenever we speak with them. You can decide to develop tools, biometrics. All I need to do is come to work in the morning and pull out one plug. If my integrity level is very low. So we are encouraging people that there should be very high integrity. But there's one thing that drives integrity: voluntary compliance. And one thing drives voluntary compliance: good government policy. If you introduce a policy that is not implementable, people make effort to surmount it. They must find a way. You know why? You can't control flood without giving it a channel. Otherwise, it will push down the building. Now, as implementers of policy, we don't criticize. But we always ask you to give us feedback of how those policies are affecting you, so that in our writing our annual report, we tell government. I will give you one example. The last auto policy that was introduced crippled rural terminals in the ports. From over 45,000 to 55,000 vehicles annually, Nigeria went down to 4,000 vehicles annually. Now the question is this: vehicles were still leaving Europe at 7,000 vehicles a week. Only 200, 400 to 500 vehicles will be dropped in Lagos. The rest will go to the rest of West Coast. The population of Ghana, Togo, Benin, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, who are our neighbors, is not up to 80 million people. So who are the consumers of these vehicles? Ultimately, they still find their way back to Nigeria, isn't it? So that's one good policy being sabotaged because of lack of implementation. I, as a customs officer, cannot query that policy. But what we did was to tell government that, look, this is what we're experiencing. Terminal operators who are rural, their infrastructures are decaying, just like what is happening in Niger Dock. They have the best equipment, but not being put to use. So those equipment were there. Skilled workers were being laid off. All because smugglers were feasting with those vehicles. Customs officers were being hacked to death, trying to checkmate them. Agreements were being signed with neighboring countries that were not being implemented because they too were overwhelmed. The gains inherent was so high. 70%, 20%, no, 50% is such a big margin in business that even somebody like me will want to die again if I'm a businessman. Now, government listened and said, okay, we close the borders. Let those vehicles come in anyhow, just like we did for pharmaceutical products once, just like we did for fruit drinks once. It's yielding result, but it's not optimal yet. What do we need? Patience and exposure. We need to talk to you, to engage you, to encourage traders that you know. I'm just using this example because one that affects all of us. Somebody asked me, why should you implement that? Why should government do it? Nigerians need the cars. And I said, recall what happened with fruit drinks. When fruit drinks were banned from being imported, it was an uproar. We are not producing fruit drinks, so why are you banning them? But government insisted. Now, I am sure if they are going to serve fruit drinks here, they are serving made in Nigeria fruit drinks, isn't it? So we have developed enough capacity for that. It takes just patience. We are doing the same thing with poultry products. I am sure that many of us, if you serve them local chicken versus the imported chicken, many people will prefer the local chicken, isn't it? Again, that's what awareness creates. So we want to encourage Nigerians that if you increase your integrity and compliance level, some of these policies will yield results. I wouldn't want to bore you more by explaining the details of globally networked customs, coordinated border management, custom trade partnership, enabling technology and tools. I won't want to because I like delivering my lectures, giving local examples that people can go away with. But if I send my details of this document to you later, perhaps you send it by email and then you can read and research more on them. Okay, so I will save your time with this. Now, let me dwell again on this integrity matter. We have what we call Arusha Declaration. Arusha is in Kenya. Arusha Declaration says that people should make effort to make right declarations because that's what this is all about. How do you comply? Would you weigh? The first speaker here when I walked in said something about weighing what you gain by non-compliance with what the nation as a whole loses. Now, if we say that auto policy, we should sabotage it by smuggling in vehicles, and then we look at the long-time gain of Nigeria being an auto manufacturer, which one comes first? Let me conclude by saying that I will read my conclusion. I say, furthermore, we have adopted WCO instruments such as Revised Kyoto Convention, Safe Framework of Standards, Harmonized Systems, Nairobi Convention, and all those conventions. I said, but the most important input of the Nigerian Customs Service in the development of maritime infrastructure is the introduction of elements of modern customs organization, commencing with the various reforms in the service. Many of us know that prior to this time, custom work was, everything was just documents. You had a prerogative to help your friends or not to help. You come to work, the documents are filled up. These days, With the modernization that we've done, everything is computer-based.